it always seems like when people are starting, there's always some event that they can go to that they can just get completely overwhelmed with information. What better way to learn? And you talk about diving into a new industry, you're at High Point. What was that experience like?
A little wild, to be honest with you. I've been to a lot of trade shows of every walks and kinds. It's a city with the most beautiful showrooms from the best vendors in the industry. It was surreal. I'd be lying to say I wasn't confused, lost, and intimidated all at once, but at the same time excited by how big the industry is, how much potential is there.
Welcome into the Independent Thinking Podcast. This is your host, Rob Stott. We are in the second leg of our two-legged David podcast here on the Independent Thinking Podcast. This week, we're talking to David Niedzielski, our new Director of Furniture and Outdoor here at Nationwide Marketing Group. And that's following up on the other David Watt, our Senior Director of CE, who we talked to last week. So two Davids joined the team same day. They actually started, here at Nationwide Marketing Group, both, leading up different verticals within our merchandising team. So awesome to be able to talk to the both of them. And so Niedzielski, a name that'll be familiar to those of you in the outdoor space, comes over from Traeger, where he, headed up buying group relationships there and spent about, we dive into it, but the past 5 years or so, managing the relationship with Nationwide and Traeger, and, kind of grew close enough to where we wanted to, grow our team and saw an opportunity to bring David in and help grow the furniture and outdoor space. So we're excited to have him on board and get to dive in. We say it during the podcast, but, it's neat how, maybe not so much for the new hires, but it's kind of neat how, every time someone seems to start at Nationwide or within this retail industry, it's always on the heels or right ahead of, I should say, an event where they can really dive in and do that, drinking from the fire hose, a cliche that we love to throw around out there. And David did that, not only, being at primetime with us, kind of wearing both hats and meeting the team, but just a few weeks later, coming off of High Point Market in North Carolina, a big furniture show in the area for those that know it. And, really a great way for him to get to know that industry and the people within it and make those connections and hit the ground running, and, all the cliches we can throw his way. So it's been that kind of first few weeks for David, and, excited to have the chance to talk to him on the podcast about his role and what excites him about working on this side of the business and with more closely with our retailers, and, where he sees some of those opportunities and what he plans to do in his new role. So excited to have David on and share that conversation with you now here on the Independent Thinking Podcast. All right, we are back on the Independent Thinking Podcast, and back-to-back weeks we get to talk to someone named David. And last week it was David Watt, our new Senior Director of the CE team, and this week it's David Niedzielski, Director of Furniture and Outdoor for Nationwide Marketing Group. Two guys starting around the same time. I think actually on the same day. Is that right? Did you guys start on the same day?
That's correct. Same day.
Well, see, you got not even just names, but your date of hire is tied together. So that's pretty awesome. So how's it going, man? How you doing?
Good, man. It's been great. It's been a whirlwind, but loving every minute of it. It's been a great process.
We're excited. I know, very excited to have you on the team. Obviously, those that have been to primetime, you'll be a familiar face. But for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Get the introduction out of the way, and talk about your path to Nationwide Marketing Group.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. A little bit about myself. Prior to this, I was with Traeger wood pellet grills for about 5.5 years, and essentially running all buying groups for North America. And really brought on with an emphasis of what we call the appliance and furniture channel. And it actually all really started with Nationwide. My first call in the channel introducing myself was with the wonderful John Lang. Really gave me a rundown of Nationwide. I was like, man, this sounds pretty cool, as far as, appliance can sound, right? But then I just remember attending my first primetime show, and I was like, wow, okay, there's something here. So really that was my beginning with Nationwide and with Traeger. I mean, it all started and ended with Nationwide. So, fast forward 5.5 years, and now I'm on the other side.
It's what being on that other side. What's
Yeah.
kind of that thing that excites you now about being here, being part of the nationwide team, and
Yeah.
going from the vendor side to the buying group side.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of things. I mean, working with the retailers was honestly one of my favorite parts of the job at Traeger. Now, we had reps that called on people, but my favorite thing is like I went to every event meeting, everything from prime time to the east to the west to the
Yeah.
southwest meetings. I love getting intertwined with the retailers. I mean, really talking with the members on what was working was always great, but more importantly, what wasn't working, right?
Right.
I loved it. I was the guy that loved jumping in conversation, going, "Hey, why do we suck?" That's intriguing to me. How can we better help the members? How can we better help the retailers? And the independent channel was just one of my favorites to work with. A lot of passion. It just yeah, it just I love that part of the job. Love learning how can we take it to another step, and now I get to do it in a bigger way with more vendors and really working a lot closer with the membership.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And well, you mentioned the prime time being like an introduction to this space.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're coming off of Dallas about a month ago as we're sitting here, maybe a little over a month ago. Since we left Dallas, but you're kind of, it was an interesting time, right? We talked about it before this started, how you were like, it was kind of two hats. You weren't officially part of Nationwide yet, but you knew that it was coming. So to be there, what was that experience like for you to be at that show and sort of see things literally from both sides?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it was a little bit of a confusing whirlwind of a show. Definitely never attended a prime time like that. Kind of was wearing two hats. I knew my end with Traeger was coming, but I was still working the event as Traeger, making sure to keep that relationship with the members, with the retailers, and with the group, and just making sure handing off my baby a little bit was going smoothly. But Primetime Dallas was seriously amazing. I mean, what a turnout. I mean, so many members just from every group, especially Southwest. Dennison team really crushed it. I mean, I was busy bell to bell. Could not have been busier. Our booth was insanely packed, and then you add in the backyard cooking space. That was phenomenal. John Lang did such a great job pulling so many of these vendors together. I mean, it was just awesome. We were out there slinging samples. Every time I went out there, chefs were just constantly slinging food and looking at all the other vendors slinging food. I mean, it was truly a fun time. And if you missed it, you definitely missed a great opportunity to have some fun out in the sun with us. Yeah, in prime time, there's just with the backyard barbecue, it was just even that bigger of a spotlight on outdoor. Watching how many more, I've never seen so many outdoor vendors participate in the cooking before. Traeger's
Right.
been doing it for 5.5 years, and just watching the other guys join in, like Royal King was crushing it. You had all the different pizza ovens from Ghazni Alpha to
Yeah. Yep.
Blackstone. I mean, it
Yep.
was an incredible event.
No, it's a lot of fun to your point to see how that's grown, and you threw a name in there, John Mr. Lang,
Yeah.
who kind of spearheaded the introduction really of nation outdoor to Nationwide, and talk
Mhm.
about being able to interact with a guy like that the knowledge he brings to the table and sort of what you're yeah I can imagine you're soaking up a lot of that knowledge from him as you're diving into this role.
Yeah, I mean, John Lang, what a wonderful human and the best in class at his job, truly. I wouldn't be sitting here today, so a little shout out, John Lang. Thank you for everything. I mean, he really was my guide. I mean, the passion that he has for the membership, no one comes close. There's a lot of great people, but John Lang, I mean, big shout out to you, John.
And I mean the backyard is honestly like his concept,
Yeah,
his baby born to life that he's passing off to over to you.
yeah,
So no pressure,
yeah.
none whatsoever.
None at
Uh,
all. None at all.
no, we know I mean, he set the table and you're there to kind of deliver it home and everything we're kind of really excited I think to see the next steps and what you'll be bringing to it, but. Thinking back, something you mentioned a little bit ago about the opportunities, in this space, and specifically for the retailers? You do a lot of, on the vendor side, obviously you saw a lot of, like you mentioned, they come to you, like, what do we suck at? What can we do better? But,
Yeah.
for the retailers, where are those opportunities? What are the things that you're excited to start, guiding these outdoor dealers, towards, or, have them do in their stores that, that maybe they're not right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely don't want to forget about my furniture part of
Yeah.
it too. So, outdoors easy to talk about coming from the Traeger world. The furniture space is pretty new to me. Just got back from High Point, learned a lot. But
Yeah.
honestly, there's so much opportunity within the outdoor and furniture space for the independent retailer right now. I mean, adding more segments to your business to capture even more of an audience is so important, right? You're just capturing so many more consumers. And just, I believe with the higher margins retailers gain in the furniture and outdoor space, I mean, there's a lot of margin there for our retailers to really, make some money, and also to, cover different facets. It's kind of one of those, everyone needs to eat, sit, and sleep, right?
Yeah.
Like, so why not be a designation to cover all three? So I truly believe if, you're a retailer of ours, you should be in each of those categories. There's too many positives to not at least take a look and look into these categories. So the opportunity is just growing.
I'm glad you called me out on it with the, we talk about outdoor, but it is the outdoor and furniture. I said it at the top with your title. Talk about the combination of those two. Is that, something that, the positioning of that, is there an advantage to that, having you be over both of those segments?
Yeah, learning the indoor furniture is going to be the interesting part, because obviously outdoor furniture and outdoor barbecue and outdoor heating and just everything all goes together. But really learning the indoor space is going to be it's going to be fun. It's a fun new challenge in my career, and I'm excited. Again, going back to High Point, I got to meet a lot of the vendors, a lot of the passion in the industry that I didn't know was there. These showrooms are beautiful sets. I think it just comes together with furniture of, think about your home, right? It's your home where you invite your friends, your family, everything from inside to outside of where do you sit and eat and have a nice dinner you just cooked on your backyard and your outdoor patio. Okay, now where does everyone go and sit and eat and inside your home, of really just bringing the connectivity of people and that passion of, it's, you're bringing the neighborhood together a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I think they all go hand in hand.
I love that. And you mentioned High Point. That, what better way to, if for some reason in this space, it always seems like when people are starting, there's always some event that they can go to that they can just get completely overwhelmed with information, right? So whether it's like coming to prime time for a lot of it just always happens that a lot of NMG, team members start around prime time, and what better way to learn? And you talk about diving into a new industry, you're at High Point. What was that experience like? Just talk about walking around all those buildings and the show, and just what that experience was like for you.
It's a little wild, to be honest with you. I've been to a lot of trade shows of every walks and kinds, except for this is my first furniture one, especially High Point. I mean, it's a big city. It's a city with the most beautiful showrooms from the best vendors in the industry. I mean, it was surreal. I mean, I'd be lying to say I wasn't confused, lost, and intimidated all at once, but at the same time excited by how big the industry is, how much potential is there. I know we have a lot of great vendors within the group right now in the furniture space. There's even more we're looking at to constantly join and evolve and adapt. And I mean, it was wild. It was just, if you've never been, you should attend.
I love that plug. And now, as a first timer going to that, like, what was your, obviously, going into it, you're trying to learn and get familiar with the space, but like, how do you, as a first timer, approach it? Or what was your approach, going into that show? Or did you have no expectations?
There was a lot of talking with people that have attended, obviously Jeff Rose from our team, vice president of F&B and outdoor, and then Chad Fisher. I had a lot of people to really guide me, help me work with the vendors. A lot of my introductions over the last few weeks to my vendor partners of setting this schedule, because you really do got to be dialed at High Point, because it's so big. What I hear is like roughly 10 million square feet of showroom space in there. Crazy. And it's not all in just one building. And And on top of that, each building's confusing. They know how to let you in, but you can't figure out how to get out. It was wild.
That's probably by
But
design.
it's like a casino in Vegas, right? They want you in, they don't want you to leave. That's how High Point is. But really, I had a lot of guidance. We have a lot of great people on the team that have had a lot of experience at High Point. So really relying on them. The onboarding's been incredible, guiding me to help me be successful at the event.
Yeah.
So first day I spent with Jeff Rose, like he knows it with like the back of his hand. Got to see a lot of our awesome vendors. And then the next 2 days I was on my own. It was a get dropped off from a shuttle downtown at the meeting. It was like, all right, here's my list. Let's get going and get to see all of my vendors. And then
fly, little birdie. It's like, just go. It's yours now.
Trial by fire.
That's odd. What better way?
I definitely got lost more times than I'd like to admit, walking around, grown man in a suit, asking for, please, ma'am, can you help me find my way?
Well, hey, but that's probably a fun way to bump into some like potential vendors or products like that you never thought you might, just do get lost,
Yeah, that was
awesome.
The idea. My goal was to get lost and submerge myself as much as possible, wander into showrooms that not even part of our group, but it looks like you should be. Who do I got to talk to? I mean, it was a great experience. I met a lot of amazing people too at the event that, truly, I've gotten texts and calls from people that I just met, sales reps, other vendors, other groups that are just like, hey, you need help in the space. It was a very warm welcome.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And like you said, what better way to do it? And, even before we get together for our next prime time in Nashville in August, you got another market event. You'll be at Vegas where we have a showroom too. So what are you looking forward to about that and diving into that?
Same thing. Kind of don't know what to expect. Yeah. So furniture market in Vegas, I believe it's in July. I'll be getting lost in there. I'll be there for a full week. We have a booth, so I'm excited to see our own booth. So watching everyone come through and interact that way, and then getting out there with Jeff and team and some of our MSMs that attend and really get to sit down with the vendors and dive in even deeper, because High Point, a lot of it was spent of, hi, I'm your new guy, right? And so to dive in even more on programs, and get more specific on ways to help our membership, I'm excited to see it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I want to kind of bring it full circle here and talk about the retail side, and sort of as you dive in, I know, again, you have that vendor experience of seeing how these retailers are from the vendor side. But what are some things that you think they've done well, as it relates to the outdoor? Obviously you have the perspective of the outdoor space and you're diving into furniture, but what are some of the things that you think they do well? We'll start there, and then you can talk about, the areas that you think they can improve.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned previously, working with independent retailers is truly one of my favorites. Everyone's so invested, right? Every one of them, whether it's a one-door mom and pop operation or a 50-door chain, they're all offering a unique value to their communities and their customers. It's truly inspiring, some of them, how they're intertwined in their communities. I just truly love it. I love how well they're involved and connected, and how they always add a special touch, right? Like that's something they've always owned, and why they're still in business, why some of them have been around for generations, 100 years or less, more, everything in between. Offering services, delivery, install, all that white glove experience of, why do you go in there? It's a destination. They have these customers that have, their dad used to call on, it's all generational. It's so cool. And they do such a great job at that. It's just really becoming a destination in a town, whether it's a small town out in the middle of Nebraska, or if it's New York City, it's inspiring.
It goes to that, the whole theme. And I'm not sure how tuned in you were with it, having, the two hats on during prime time, but that customer obsessed theme of, putting that customer at the center of the experience. And I think a lot of what you're describing, and we just had not too long ago, from this podcast, a webinar that dove deep. We're trying to continue those conversations, right? Because 5,000 members, there's 5,000 unique ways that these retailers are putting the customer, at the heart of that retail experience. So to everything you're saying, it sort of feels a lot like that. for sure.
100%. It's truly, they're the masters of customer service. If you want to feel at home, it's like we all have that neighborhood bar or restaurant that we feel welcome in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, these independent retailers are that on the retail side. What there's a reason their customers are going in there. The big box, I guess there's value there, but I mean, you don't feel warm and fuzzy when you walk in there, but you're going to an independent store, you feel at home. You're never feeling out of place. They know how to make you welcome, and they have the services and knowledge to back it up.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, and then, looking ahead too, because this is a chance to sort of set the stage, make it official on the pod. This is your platform, right? This is like the campaign trail of where it kicks off, right? So it's not official until you say it on the Independent Thinking podcast. But what are some of those areas that you're like excited to get your hands on, where they can improve and do better, that you're excited to really get in the weeds with them and work on to help these retailers in their business?
Yeah, I'm hoping to drive some value of making sure we have the vendors in the furniture space. We have the vendors in the outdoor space of, making sure our members have the correct assortments, offering that variety to the customers of, the customer already trusts the retailer to be their destination. The retailer's trusting Nationwide to have the assortments, having the programs. So really working with them to drive even more value, I think, is something I'm really looking forward to, and one of my strong suits. Just one of those things that could always be worked on, right? And independent is, staying on top of the digital age, continuing the advertising, especially taking advantage of the digital space and the market. The market and consumers are continuing to migrate towards it, right? So I think making sure they have a destination website that matches their in-store experience and beyond, right? You're feeling warm and fuzzy walking inside the store. Let's make sure your website's up to date with the correct assets, pricing, everything like that. There'll always be ways to continuously improve your business as it's ever evolving. My big recommendation to our retailers and members is really stay connected, stay on top of the latest trends, stay connected to the podcasts, things coming out of these shows, latest news from MemberNet. Continue to show value on why you are who you are, right? Like, why are consumers continuing to put trust in you and your products? I mean, it's their home, it's their life. Why? Continue to show value.
No, I love it. And you heard him. Hit subscribe. If you're not already, hit subscribe. You got to do it for your membership. It's how you get better at business, is by subscribing and listening to this podcast religiously every week.
Absolutely.
Said here first. No, that's awesome, man. Like we said at the top, we're excited to have you on board, and we've seen over the years the great things you've been able to do. Building that relationship on the other side, on the dark side. But we're excited to have you on this side now. So look forward to watching you continue to do what you do, and learn new spaces too. The furniture space is excited to have you for sure. So
awesome. Yeah, thanks, Rob. But happy to be here. So
yeah,
happy to be on and join you anytime. And like you said, like, subscribe, share. Let's go, people.
That's great. All right, man. We appreciate it, and we'll certainly catch up again soon. Awesome. And thanks again to David. Like I said, just a fun guy, real excited to have him on the team, and excited to see where he takes, his new role as director of outdoor and furniture. Because a lot of potential in this space, as we know, and we've seen it grow so much over the last handful of years that it's been part of the Nationwide family, and neat to see, David pick up that mantle and run with it. So excited for that. And like I said, earlier, appreciate him taking that time. And as always, appreciate you listening to our Independent Thinking podcast, and we'll catch you next time.